We haven't played a road game with a team.
Started with Tim Reynolds.
Well, a lot of road trip I've ever been on. When I played 8 years in this league.
Erik,
Scheduling different stuff.
everyone talks about offense all the time in this NBA. Everyone talks about three-point shooting, but to dig deep and hold that team to 14 points in the fourth quarter, what's that say about where your defense is going into the trip?
Well, there's been some progress really the last 2 or 3 weeks, believe it or not, and that's why you just can't obsess about the result. You got to really, be intentional on what you're trying to get accomplished. And this was more of a throwback Miami Heat, New York Knicks game from the 90's, where there weren't a lot of open shots in the last 14, 16 minutes of the game. And, it was just you're going to have to grind out a win, and in many ways do it, when you weren't scoring, so free throws were like gold in this game, and the defensive stops, down the stretch were inspiring. Bam on the post denial, and then KO, going for the loose ball on the sideline in front of our bench. And then Bam, on those possessions with Randall, end of the game, it was no scheme. It was basically just Bam, guard your guy.
Erik, and you've talked a lot the last 2-3 weeks about the progress you're seeing. The tough, there's always the superlatives about Jimmy and the toughness. Tyler didn't have a great shooting night. To take that shot kind of off balance with a minute to go, just the courage that a lot of these guys are showing in what hasn't been a real fun time. Thank you.
Well, I wouldn't say that it hasn't been fun. This has just been an extraordinary experience. We're all growing, from this. There were so many things that hit us. I just really commend the group, for the mental stability and toughness, to be able to stay the course and not make an excuse, not feel sorry for ourselves, not, ask for pity, from anyone. And, you just continue to try to get better. And we have a very tough-minded group. If anybody can handle all of these things that have happened, it's this group in that locker room.
Next, we have Ira Winderman.
Erik, obviously, when you work the way to the foul line the way Bam and Jimmy did, that's just grueling, and it just shows the perseverance there. What does it say about sort of the way that they just kept pushing when the easy shots weren't going, when maybe the sets weren't working, that they sort of just put their head down and just went to the lane, took the contact, and just did what they had to do?
Yeah, it's a force of will to do what was necessary at that point to put enough points on the board. Pretty much going down the stretch for either team, it was grounded pound, just try to get, something, downhill at the rim. And like I said, those free throw opportunities were like gold. The only time we had a good flow was in that second quarter. We had a few shots and ball was moving and everything like that, but then both teams stepped up their defense in the second half.
I want to ask you that, since the points all count the same no matter when they're scored, how critical was Kelly keeping you afloat with those 3-pointers in the first half?
Yeah, he does a lot for us, on that side of the floor. He spaces the floor, but he also, can put points on the board. If you don't account for him, he can put up 18, 20 points, 25 points on a given night. So it's not just about spacing the floor. And then he allows us to play with a bigger front line with he and Bam.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rob Mahoney with The Ringer.
Hey, Coach, how's it going? You mentioned, in terms of not focusing solely on the results of what your defense is doing. I'm curious, from a process standpoint, what you've seen in this game and in some of the previous games that have you optimistic about where your team is.
Well, we had, some good progress in January. It just, we were taking a bunch of L's, and it was tough to keep track of who was in what team meeting and what film session and, what pivotal huddle where we had a breakthrough. But I think, you know, this experience is hardening our group. It's toughening our group up. You know, you wouldn't ask for it, but this has just been the circumstance for this team. And, you know, we started to see some progress on the defensive side for the last 10 days, 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got any small stuff?